The emergency lights flashed red across the massive council chamber. Ambassador Zexthai's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he stared at the holographic display floating above the central platform. The image showed Earth's solar system, but something was very wrong. A strange blue energy field surrounded all 9 planets, blocking every signal that tried to get through. When did this happen? Zexthai asked, his voice shaking. He had never seen anything like this before. Commander Voshka, a tall gray alien with 6 arms, stepped forward. Her species had been fighting wars for thousands of years before humans arrived. 12 hours ago, every human embassy went silent at exactly the same time. Every trade ship, every diplomatic vessel, every communication relay. All of them stopped talking to us. The other council members sat in stunned silence. There were representatives from 47 different species in the chamber. Some looked like giant insects, others were made of living rock, and a few existed as pure energy held in special containers. But they all had one thing in common. They all depended on humans in some way. "This cannot be happening," whispered Elder Kothron from the crystal throne where his rock-like body rested. His people had been at war with 3 neighboring species for over 2,000 years. The humans had helped them make peace just 50 years ago. The humans have never done anything like this before. They always talk to us. They always help us solve our problems. Zexthai remembered his first meeting with a human diplomat 30 years ago. The human woman had smiled and listened patiently as he explained his people's conflict with the Zephyrian collective. The 2 species had been fighting over mining rights in the Outer Rim for centuries. Millions had died in their wars. But somehow, that human woman had found a solution that made both sides happy. She had shown them how to share the resources and work together. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Dexmore from his communication station, "we are receiving reports from across the galaxy. Human colonies, research stations, and military bases have all activated some kind of barrier. No one can get close to them." The large screen on the wall lit up with a star map of the galaxy. Red dots marked every location where humans had built something. There were thousands of them. Trading posts, research facilities, small colonies, and military bases. Every single one now showed as unreachable. "How is this possible?" asked Senator Rilla, her insect-like antennae twitching with worry. "Humans do not have this kind of technology. Their ships are fast and their weapons are good, but they are not that advanced. We have all seen their equipment. It is only slightly better than ours." Commander Voshka pulled up another display. "This shows our trade routes for the past month." Bright lines connected thousands of star systems, showing how goods moved across the galaxy. "Now look at this." The lines changed color. More than half of them turned red. These routes all depend on human merchant ships or human-protected space lanes. The council members stared at the display in growing horror. Without the human trade ships, entire sectors would run out of food, medicine, and essential supplies within weeks. The humans had somehow become part of everything the galaxy did. "What about our conflicts?" asked General Mordak, a warrior from a warlike species. "The humans help us solve our disputes. They stop our wars before they get too big. Without them..." He did not need to finish his sentence. Everyone in the chamber knew what would happen. The old hatred between species would return. Wars that had been ended would start again. The peace that humans had helped build would crumble. Zexthai accessed his personal files and projected them for everyone to see. These are records of human diplomatic missions over the past 300 years. The data scrolled across the screen. They have helped end 1,247 wars. They have negotiated 3,891 trade agreements. They have prevented 847 conflicts from starting. They have saved millions of lives. But why would they abandon us now? Asked Dr. Velinari, a scientist whose people specialized in studying other species. Humans seem to enjoy helping others. They appear to find satisfaction in solving problems and making peace. This behavior does not match what we know about them. Elder Cothran's rocky voice rumbled through the chamber. Perhaps we never really knew them at all. The communication system beeped urgently. Lieutenant Moore's face went pale. Sirs, we are receiving reports of violence breaking out in the Zephyrian sector. Without human patrol ships watching the borders, old enemies are testing each other's defenses. More reports came in quickly. A dispute over water rights on 3 mining worlds had turned into shooting. Pirates were attacking merchant vessels in areas where human ships usually provided protection. 2 species had started arguing over territory they had shared peacefully for decades. This is happening everywhere, Commander Vashka said quietly. The moment the humans stopped watching, we started fighting again. Ambassador Zesthai felt a cold fear growing in his chest. His own people had 3 major disputes with neighboring species. The humans have been helping to keep those situations calm. Now, without human mediators, how long before those disputes turn violent? We need to contact them, he said. We need to find out why they did this and convince them to come back. We have tried everything, Lieutenant Dexmore replied. Every communication method we know. Radio, quantum signals, even psychic transmission. Nothing gets through that barrier around their territory. The chamber fell silent, except for the soft humming of the life support systems. Each representative was thinking about the same thing: how much their people needed the humans. Not just for trade or peace negotiations, but for the stability humans brought to the entire galaxy. Sir, Dexmore called out again, his voice even more worried than before. Long-range sensors are detecting movement in the void region. Something big is coming toward our galaxy from outside. Every creature in the chamber froze. The void region was empty space beyond their galaxy, where nothing should exist. But sometimes, things came from there. Dangerous things that wanted to destroy everything they found. The humans, whispered Dr. Volanari. They always seemed to know when something was coming from the void. They always had ships ready to stop threats before they reached us. Now the humans were gone, and something was coming. The galaxy had never felt more alone. 3 weeks had passed since humanity disappeared behind their mysterious barriers. The galaxy was falling apart, faster than anyone had imagined possible. Dr. Keshlin stood in her research laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing chaos across known space. Her purple skin had turned pale with stress, and her 6 tentacle-like arms moved quickly between different data screens. As the galaxy's leading expert on human behavior, she had been called to help the Galactic Council understand what was happening. The situation is worse than we feared, she told the emergency council meeting through her communication device. Fighting has broken out in 37 sectors. The old war between the Zephyrian Collective and the Silicon Hegemony started again yesterday. They have already destroyed 12 space stations and killed thousands of civilians. On her main screen, she watched real-time footage of Zephyrian warships attacking Silicon mining platforms. The 2 species had been bitter enemies for over 4,000 years, before humans arrived and somehow convinced them to stop fighting. Their peace had lasted for 2 centuries. It took only 3 weeks without human mediators for the violence to return. What about the pirate activity? Asked Commander Vashka through the communication link. Dr. Keshlin switched to another display. Pirate raids have increased by 400%. Without human patrol fleets, criminal organizations are attacking merchant ships. Throughout the Outer Rim, trade has dropped by 60% galaxy-wide. But the pirates were not the worst problem. Dr. Keshlin pulled up a star map, showing the edge of their galaxy. Dark red markers indicated something that made her blood run cold. The void feeders have started probing our outer systems again, she said quietly. Silence fell over the communication channel. Every species in the galaxy knew about the void feeders, though few had ever seen them. They came from the empty space between galaxies, destroying everything they found. They consumed planets, stars, and entire solar systems, leaving nothing behind but darkness. How many? Commander Vashka asked. 7 scout ships detected so far. They are testing our defenses in the rim sectors. Dr. Keshlin's voice was barely above a whisper. The humans always seemed to know when they were coming. Human ships would appear at the edge of our galaxy and drive them away before they could get inside. Admiral Dexver, the military leader of the Unified Defense Fleet, joined the conversation. My ships are spread too thin. We are trying to stop the wars between our own people while also watching for external threats. We do not have enough vessels to guard the entire galactic rim. Dr. Keshlin had spent 40 years studying humans. She had lived on Earth for 10 of those years, observing their behavior and trying to understand how they thought. What she had learned made her more frightened than any of the others realized. There is something else, she said. Something I discovered in my research that I never reported before. What is it? Admiral Dexver demanded. Dr. Keshlin activated a new display showing shipping records from the past 3 centuries. I have been analyzing human merchant ship routes. They claim to be trading goods between different species, but look at this data carefully. The screen showed thousands of flight paths crisscrossing the galaxy. At first glance, they looked like normal trade routes. But when Dr. Keshlin highlighted certain patterns, something disturbing became clear. Human ships visited every military base, every research facility, every strategic location in the galaxy. They said they were delivering supplies or conducting diplomatic meetings. But they stayed longer than necessary. They scanned everything. They recorded detailed information about our defenses, our technologies, and our weaknesses. The other council members absorbed this information in stunned silence. Are you saying the humans were spying on us? Commander Vashka asked. I am saying they were gathering intelligence on every species in the galaxy for 300 years. Dr. Keshlin replied. They know exactly how strong each of our militaries are. They know where our important facilities are located. They know our political systems, our resources, and our secrets. Admiral Dexver's voice turned angry. Why did you not report this before? Because I thought they were doing it to help us, Dr. Keshlin admitted. Humans always use this information to solve conflicts and prevent wars. They would suggest solutions that somehow worked for everyone. I believed they needed detailed knowledge to be effective mediators. She paused, looking at data that made her question everything she thought she knew about humanity. But now I wonder if there was a different purpose. The humans did not just learn about our military capabilities. They also studied our psychology, our decision-making processes, and our social structures. They knew exactly how each species would react under stress. As if to prove her point, alerts started flashing on her communication system. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy about species behaving exactly as humans might have predicted. The proud warrior races were starting unnecessary fights. The careful traders were hoarding resources. The peaceful scientists were hiding in their laboratories instead of helping solve problems. They knew this would happen, Dr. Keshlin said with growing certainty. When the humans withdrew, they knew exactly how each species would react. They knew we would start fighting each other. They knew we would be unprepared for external threats. More reports flooded in. The Crystalline Confederation had closed their borders and stopped sharing medical supplies. 3 different species claimed ownership of the same asteroid belt and were preparing for war. Refugee ships were fleeing violence in 14 different sectors. Dr. Keshlin, Admiral Dexver's voice was grim. We just lost contact with our patrol fleet in Sector 47. Long-range sensors show void fear activity in that area. She checked her displays and felt her heart skip a beat. Sector 47 was deep inside their galaxy, not on the outer rim where void feeders usually appeared. How did they get past our defenses? We do not know. Our early warning systems did not detect them until they were already attacking our ships. Dr. Keshlin realized something terrifying. For centuries, humans had somehow been keeping the void feeders away from the galaxy, not just defeating them in battle, but preventing them from entering in the first place. The humans had never explained how they did this. Everyone had assumed human technology was only slightly better than their own. We need to break through the barriers around human space, she said urgently. We need to contact them and find out what they know about the void feeders. We have tried everything, Commander Vashka replied. The barriers are too strong. Our most powerful weapons cannot scratch them. As Dr. Keshlin looked at the chaos spreading across the galaxy, she understood that they had all made a terrible mistake. They had thought humans were just helpful neighbors who liked solving problems. They had never considered that humanity might be something far more advanced and far more necessary than anyone realized. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about how much they had depended on their human friends. And they were learning it too late. The Joint Task Force, assembled at the edge of human space, was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before. 5 different species had combined their most advanced technologies to create one experimental probe. Admiral Lexver watched from the command ship as engineers made final adjustments to the device that might give them answers about humanity's mysterious withdrawal. The probe incorporates crystalline phase-shifting technology, Zephyrian quantum processors, silicon energy manipulation systems, Valorian sensor arrays, and our own navigation computers, reported Chief Engineer Moltar. If anything can get through that barrier, this will. The barrier around Earth's solar system stretched out before them like a wall of blue energy. It had been 6 weeks since humanity disappeared behind it, and the galaxy continued to tear itself apart. 3 more sectors had fallen to the void feeders. The war between the Zephyrians and Silicon hegemony had spread to involve 6 other species. Food shortages were becoming critical in systems that depended on human trade routes. Launch the probe, Admiral Lexver ordered. The small device shot forward, its hull shimmering as the phase-shifting technology activated. For a moment, it looked like the barrier would stop it just like everything else they had tried. Then suddenly, the probe slipped through the energy field like it was passing through water. "We have penetration," shouted the sensor officer. "The probe is inside human space." Admiral Lexver felt hope for the first time in weeks. "Begin scanning. I want to know everything about what the humans are doing in there." The data that came back made no sense at first. Instead of the 9 planets and various space stations they expected to find, the probe detected hundreds of massive structures throughout the solar system. Earth itself appeared to be surrounded by enormous shipyards that had not been there 6 weeks ago. "This cannot be correct," muttered Dr. Zenka, the science officer. "These readings show construction on a scale that should take centuries to complete. The humans have built more in 6 weeks than most species build in 1,000 years." The probe moved deeper into the system, its advanced sensors recording everything. Mars had been completely transformed. Where once there had been small research colonies and terraforming stations, now there were vast industrial complexes covering the entire planet. Huge ships were being constructed in orbit, but they looked nothing like the vessels humans had shown to other species before. "Those ships," Admiral Lexver said quietly, "they are enormous. And that design, I have never seen anything like it." The probe's quantum processors analyzed the energy signatures coming from the human constructions. The results made Dr. Zenka's tentacles curl with shock. Sir, these energy readings are impossible according to our understanding of physics. The humans are using power sources that generate more energy than entire star systems. Their industrial output appears to have increased by a factor of 10,000 since they activated the barriers. Admiral Dexfer stared at the data streaming across his screens. Earth had always appeared to be a normal planet with cities, oceans, and about 8 billion human inhabitants. Now the probe showed a world that had been completely transformed. The continents were covered with structures that reached into space. The oceans contained floating cities connected by energy conduits. Most shocking of all, the probe detected nearly 50 billion life signs on the planet. Where did all these additional humans come from? He asked. Unknown, sir. But there is more. Dr. Zenka's voice was shaking. The probe has detected similar construction projects on every human colony world. Hundreds of planets are building the same kind of massive ships and industrial complexes. The task force watched in stunned silence as more data arrived. Jupiter had been partially disassembled, its mass being used to construct something the size of a small moon. Saturn's rings had been converted into a network of orbital factories. Even the outer planets showed signs of industrial activity that defied everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. Sir, the communication officer called out urgently. We are detecting a transmission from inside the human barrier. It appears to be directed at our probe. Put it on the main screen, Admiral Dexfer ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the interior of what appeared to be a human command center. But everything about it was wrong. The technology visible in the background was clearly centuries ahead of anything humans had ever shown to other species. The human who appeared on screen wore a uniform that looked military, but incorporated design elements no one had seen before. This is Captain Morrison of the Human Defense Coordination Center, the human said calmly. Your probe has been detected and is being monitored. You have 30 seconds to withdraw it before we consider your intrusion an act of aggression. Admiral Dexfer leaned forward. This is Admiral Dexfer of the Galactic Defense Force. We demand an explanation for your species. Withdrawal from galactic affairs. Many systems are in crisis without human assistance. Captain Morrison's expression did not change. Your probe has 20 seconds remaining. We need to understand why you have abandoned us, Admiral Dexfer pressed. The galaxy is falling apart without human diplomacy and protection. 15 seconds. Dr. Zenka whispered urgently to the Admiral. Sir, our probe is detecting massive energy buildups throughout the human system. I think they are preparing to destroy it. Wait, Admiral Dexfer called out to the human captain. We are not here to threaten you. We just want to talk. We want to understand what has happened. Captain Morrison looked at something off-screen, then back at the camera. You want to understand? Very well. Your species have had 300 years to prove you could work together for mutual survival. The moment we step back, you immediately return to your old patterns of violence and selfishness. You have demonstrated that galactic civilization is unsustainable without constant human management. But that is exactly why we need you to come back, Admiral Dexfer argued. We admit we have problems working together. That is why human diplomacy is so important. 10 seconds, Captain Morrison said without emotion. Please, just tell us what you are building in there, Dr. Zenka called out desperately. Why do you need such massive construction projects? What are those ships for? Captain Morrison paused. For a moment, something that might have been pity crossed his face. You still do not understand. You think this is about your petty wars and trade disputes. You have no idea what is really coming. The transmission cut off. A moment later, the probe signal went dead. Admiral Dexfer stared at the blank screen where the human captain had been. Around him, His officers tried to process the overwhelming data they had collected in those few minutes. "Analysis complete, sir," Dr. Zenka reported quietly. "The humans have technology that is centuries beyond anything we imagined. Their industrial capacity has increased by an impossible amount. And based on the ship designs we observed, they appear to be preparing for something much larger than defending their own territory." "What do you mean?" "Those ships, sir. They are not designed for war against other species in this galaxy. They are too large, too heavily armored, and equipped with weapons that would be unnecessary against any known threat." Dr. Zenka paused, checking his data again. "They are building a fleet designed to fight something we have never encountered before." Admiral Thexfer thought about Captain Morrison's final words. What was really coming? What threat could be so large that humanity needed to build ships the size of small moons? And why had they decided that the rest of the galaxy was not worth saving? The answers to those questions would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity, about the universe, and about their own chances of survival. Dr. Keshlin had not slept in 3 days. Her research laboratory was filled with every piece of data the galaxy's intelligence networks had collected about human activities over the past 3 centuries. After seeing the probe footage from inside human space, she knew there had to be clues they had missed. Something that would explain humanity's incredible transformation. "Computer, play intercepted transmission 7421, she commanded, her speakers filled with static. Then cleared to reveal a human voice speaking in what appeared to be a coded language. The transmission had been accidentally picked up by a Valorian listening post 6 months ago. At the time, it had seemed like routine human military communications. Now, with advanced translation algorithms, Dr. Keshlin was finally beginning to understand what the humans had really been saying. "Phase 7 construction is ahead of schedule," the voice said. "The dimensional gateway arrays will be complete within 18 months. Population relocation protocols are being updated based on the latest entropy cascade calculations." Dr. Keshlin's tentacles froze. Entropy cascade? Dimensional gateways? These were not terms she had ever heard. Humans used before. She pulled up more intercepted communications and ran them through the same translation process. Slowly, a terrifying picture began to emerge. "Universal decay rate is accelerating," said another voice. "Our models now show total cascade arrival in this sector within 847 standard years, down from our previous estimate of 1,200 years. The void feeders are not invaders," said a third transmission. "Confirmed. They are refugees from sectors already consumed by the cascade. Their behavior is consistent with species fleeing total dimensional collapse." Dr. Keshlin felt her blood turn cold. She activated her emergency communication link to the Galactic Council. "I need an immediate emergency session," she said urgently. "I have discovered why the humans withdrew, and it is worse than anything we imagined." 2 hours later, every available council member was connected to the emergency meeting. Dr. Keshlin stood before the holographic displays showing her research. "The universe is dying," she said without introduction. Silence filled the communication channel. "That is impossible," Elder Cawthron finally said. "The universe is billions of years old. It cannot simply die. Not from old age," Dr. Keshlin explained. "From something called an entropy cascade. Based on these intercepted human communications, it is a phenomenon that causes reality itself to break down. It spreads from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything in its path." She activated a star map showing their local galactic cluster. "The humans have been tracking this cascade for centuries. It has already consumed multiple galaxy clusters beyond our local group. The empty regions we thought were natural are actually areas where entire galaxies used to exist. Admiral Dexfer's voice was grim. "How long do we have?" "According to human calculations, the cascade will reach our galaxy in approximately 850 years. That is a long time," Commander Vashka pointed out. "Surely we can develop technology to stop it or escape it." Dr. Keshlin shook her head. "You do not understand the scale of this threat. The cascade does not just destroy matter and energy. It breaks down the fundamental laws of physics. Space and time themselves cease to exist where it passes." She pulled up more data from the human transmissions. "The void feeders that have been attacking our outer systems are not trying to conquer us. They are fleeing from regions where the cascade has already begun to affect reality. They are refugees, just as desperate as we are." The council members absorbed this information in stunned silence. Finally, Senator Rilla spoke up. "Why did the humans not tell us about this?" "Because they tried to prepare us gradually," Dr. Keshlin replied. "Look at the pattern of human diplomatic activities over the past 3 centuries. They were trying to unite all species into a single cooperative galactic civilization. They needed us to work together to have any chance of survival." She showed them analysis charts of human peace negotiations. Every treaty they helped negotiate, every trade agreement they facilitated, every war they prevented. It was all designed to create unity and shared purpose among galactic species. They were preparing us for the greatest challenge any civilization has ever faced. "But we failed," Elder Cothron said quietly. "We failed completely," Dr. Keshlin confirmed. "The moment they stepped back to test our readiness, we immediately returned to fighting each other. We proved that we cannot work together even when facing minor crises, let alone a threat that could end all existence." More intercepted communications played through the speakers, revealing the scope of humanity's secret preparations. They had been building evacuation ships, capable of transporting entire populations to parallel dimensions. They had developed technology to create artificial pocket universes where species could survive the cascade. They had mapped escape routes to distant galaxy clusters that might be safe for a few million more years. "The dimensional gateways we observed in human space," Admiral Dexfer said. "They are escape routes. Escape routes that require the cooperation of every species in the galaxy to operate effectively," Dr. Keshlin confirmed. "The energy requirements are so massive that they need the combined resources of hundreds of civilizations. But cooperation is exactly what we have proven we cannot achieve." She activated a final display showing population calculations. Based on human projections, their evacuation technology can save approximately 12% of the galaxy's total population. 12%. That means choosing which species live and which ones are left behind to face the cascade. The silence that followed was deafening. Every council member was thinking the same thing. Would their species be among the 12% chosen for survival? "There is something else," Dr. Keshlin said. "The humans have been testing every species in the galaxy for the past 3 centuries. Every crisis they helped us resolve, every problem they solved for us, every negotiation they mediated. They were evaluating our potential contribution to long-term survival." She pulled up files that made her stomach sick. They have detailed psychological profiles of every major species. They know which ones can adapt to new environments. They know which ones can work cooperatively under extreme stress. They know which ones have the technical skills needed to maintain advanced technology. And they know which ones are too aggressive, too selfish, or too rigid to be useful for galactic evacuation efforts. "They have been judging us," Commander Vashka whispered. "For 300 years, Dr. Keshlin confirmed. And our recent behavior has likely convinced them that most of us are not worth saving." As if summoned by their conversation, every communication system in the council chamber suddenly activated. The barriers around human space were dropping. A transmission was coming through from Earth. President Sarah Chun appeared on their screens. She wore a simple black uniform, and her expression was cold and businesslike. Behind her, they could see the command center of what was clearly the most advanced civilization any of them had ever encountered. "Leaders of the Galactic Council," she said without greeting. "We know you have been monitoring our communications. We know you have discovered the truth about the entropy cascade. It is time for you to understand your options." Dr. Keshlin looked at the human woman on the screen and realized that everything was about to change. The age of gentle human diplomacy was over. What came next would determine which species lived and which ones faced extinction. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity really was, and what they were truly capable of when the survival of all existence was at stake. President Sarah Chun stood in the command center of humanity's most advanced facility, looking out at screens showing the entire galaxy. Her dark eyes held no warmth as she addressed the Galactic Council. Behind her, human technicians worked at stations that controlled technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. "For 300 years, my species has guided you toward unity," she said, in a voice that was calm but completely without the diplomatic kindness that had defined human interaction with other species. "We helped you end your wars, solve your disputes, and build trade relationships. We did this because we hoped you could learn to work together when it mattered most." Admiral Vexfer leaned forward in his command chair. "President Chun, we understand there is a great threat coming. We want to help. We want to work with humanity to face this entropy cascade." Sarah Chun's expression did not change. "Your recent behavior has shown us that such cooperation is impossible. The moment we step back, your species returned to violence and selfishness. You have proven that you cannot maintain peace even when facing minor problems, let alone when facing the end of existence itself." She gestured to one of the screens behind her, which showed real-time footage of ongoing conflicts throughout the galaxy. Zephyrian ships were still attacking Silicon facilities. 3 different species were fighting over resources in the Outer Rim. Refugees fled from systems falling to the void. Feeders. This is what happens when you face a crisis. Without human management, she continued, you fight each other instead of working together. You hoard resources instead of sharing them. You think only of your own species' immediate needs instead of long-term survival. Dr. Keshlin activated her communication link. President Chun, we admit we made mistakes, but surely you can give us another chance. We can learn to cooperate if you teach us how. We spent 3 centuries trying to teach you, Sarah Chun replied. The lessons never stuck. Every time we solved a problem for you, you learned nothing about solving problems for yourselves. You became dependent on us instead of becoming capable of independence. She walked to another display showing the massive construction projects throughout human space. While you were relying on our diplomats and mediators, we were preparing for what was really coming. Every human colony, every research station, every seemingly innocent trade mission was part of a larger plan to save as much of galactic civilization as possible. The screen showed images of the enormous ships being built in human shipyards. They were not warships designed to fight other species. They were arc ships, designed to carry entire populations across impossible distances or into parallel dimensions. Our evacuation technology can save 12% of the galaxy's total population, Sarah Chun announced. 12%. That means difficult choices must be made about which species and which individuals deserve to survive. Commander Vashka's voice was tight with fear. How do we earn a place in that 12%? You do not earn it, Sarah Chun said bluntly. It is granted based on objective criteria that my species has been evaluating for 300 years. The screens changed to show detailed files on every major species in the galaxy. population numbers, technological capabilities, resource requirements, psychological profiles, and adaptation potential. Everything was laid out in cold, scientific detail. Species that can contribute useful skills to the survival effort will be considered, she explained. Species that can adapt to new environments and unusual living conditions will be prioritized. Species that have demonstrated the ability to work cooperatively under extreme stress will be valued. Admiral Dexfer studied the data appearing on his screens. What about species that cannot meet your criteria? They will be provided with detailed information about the entropy cascade and its timeline. Sarah Chun answered without emotion. They can use their remaining time as they see fit. We will not interfere with their choices. The cold practicality of her words sent chills through every alien watching. This was not the humanity they had known. There were no offers of help, no attempts to find solutions that would save everyone. No diplomatic compromises. This was a species that had made hard calculations about survival and was prepared to act on them without sentiment. There will be no negotiations, Sarah Chun continued. No debates, no appeals, no attempts to change our criteria through diplomacy. The time for such things has passed. Our evaluation of each species is complete and final. Elder Cothran's rocky voice rumbled through the communication system. This is not the humanity we have known for centuries. You were teachers, helpers, peacemakers. What happened to your compassion? For the first time, something flickered across Sarah Chun's face. It might have been sadness, or it might have been regret. Our compassion led us to waste 300 years hoping you could become better than you are. Our compassion almost cost us the chance to save anyone at all. She looked directly into the camera, and her next words cut through every excuse and rationalization the aliens might have offered. The entropy cascade does not care about your politics, your pride, or your feelings. It does not negotiate. It does not show mercy. It simply consumes everything in its path. We can either save some of you, or we can try to save all of you and end up saving none. Dr. Keshlin found her voice. When do the evacuations begin? They have already begun, Sarah Chun replied. Species that met our criteria received instructions 6 hours ago. Their populations are being transported to designated staging areas for processing. Others will be contacted as space becomes available. The screen showed massive human ships arriving at various star systems throughout the galaxy. But they were not visiting every system. They were being very selective about which planets they approached. What about the rest of us? Senator Irilva asked desperately. Sarah Chun turned to a new display showing the timeline of the entropy cascade. You have 847 years before the cascade reaches this galaxy. That is sufficient time to develop your own survival technologies if you choose to work together. We will not prevent you from trying, but you will not help us either. Admiral Lexfer said, we will not waste resources that could be used to save species that have already proven their worth, she confirmed. The human president walked to a final screen, showing a map that stretched far beyond their local galaxy cluster. It revealed the true scope of humanity's planning, escape routes, leading to distant parts of the universe where the cascade might not reach for millions of years. This conversation marks the end of human diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council, Sarah Chun announced. From this point forward, humanity operates under survival protocols. All decisions are made based on maximizing the preservation of sentient life across cosmic timescales. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of a species that had been forced to make impossible choices. You may find our new approach cold and heartless, but remember, it was your inability to cooperate that made this approach necessary. We offered you 3 centuries of guidance toward unity. You chose conflict instead. Now you will live with the consequences of that choice. The transmission ended, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Within hours, the first reports began arriving. Human ships were collecting entire populations from certain worlds while completely ignoring others. Some species found themselves welcomed aboard massive Ark ships. Others watched helplessly as humanity's vessels passed by their systems without stopping. The galaxy was learning that humanity had never been the benevolent neighbors they appeared to be. They were cosmic gardeners, carefully tending to civilizations they judged worth, preserving while allowing others to face their fate alone. As Admiral, Dexter watched human ships disappearing into dimensional gateways carrying the lucky few. He understood that the galaxy as they knew it was ending. Whether it would be remembered as a tragedy or simply as the natural consequence of species that could not learn to work together would depend on who survived to tell the story. The age of gentle human diplomacy was over. The age of cold human pragmatism had begun, and for most of the galaxy, it was already too late.